it!
Lafayette.
Thank you. Actually, you know what, ladies and gentlemen? Hold with us a moment while we attempt to butcher and pronounce place names in Louisiana before I do anything else. Okay. Opelousas, Renyoke, and Lafayette, or Lafayette.
You were close.
That last word has 3 syllables, sir.
Lafayette.
Lafayette. I don't know. This is just silly.
I would like to point out I'm currently having Django Unchained flashbacks, moving swiftly.
It is though. It's Lafayette, not Opelousas.
And that's Roanoke.
Anyway, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you find yourselves in this weird, wild, wacky world of ours, and welcome to another exciting installment of World of Darkness of London Madness in London. Individuals expressed an interest. I swear to fucking God, Kim, I will bake those birds. Moving on.
Wish the fuck you would.
The budget initiative.
This afternoon's scene will take place as the members of the awakened community in London have expressed an interest in having a quasi, in inverted commas, war meeting as it pertains to the events that have been going on in the tube systems. So Xavier Rathholm, codenamed Cypher, has invited them all to come to his home, where he feels he may be able to shed more light on their current situation than he can do in the Etherite coffee shop. The GPS coordinates he sent you literally leads you to an obviously disused tube station entrance that is located on Cranberry Road in Croydon.
Well, unless anyone's going first, Hannah will probably be there, just kind of sitting by the door, seeing if anyone else will show up. Or I should say leaning against the wall nearby.
Current effect will show up in trackies with his hands wrapped up for some god awful reason.
She'll kind of give him a nod as he approaches.
He just points. Good.
My bad.
Okay.
No, you continue.
I'm done. Go. Do you think?
No. Finish. Okay.
He points.
Fuck! Okay, I'm muting myself. You finish.
He points. All he does is he points at the place, and he looks at Hannah, and he just cocks his head. He doesn't say anything. He just points.
She'll just shrug and open the door. You were texted to meet here too, eh?
No, I don't get texts, so I have a cell phone.
Well, Xavier texted me to show up. What brings you here?
He called the landline and gave me directions.
Cool. Fair enough. Well, let's head in. Unless anyone else will be showing up. Thought I'd wait and see. So she'll open the door and have current effects going.
Oh, the door at the bottom of it's I assume you've been to New York, so you've seen the subway system. It's much the same, except slightly wider and more kind of ornate. If you've ever been to the London Tube stations, the door at the bottom of the stairs, however, there's about a 20-step stairs that leads down, is however locked.
So this door that we're in front of is locked.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just waiting for Kim.
Guess we gotta wait for Xavier to show up to unlock the door.
Dakota will get there eventually. She is, of course, very slow because she can't really walk all that well. Walking's a problem. But she will get there, and of course she does have Ayala, who is in her service animal vest and both a harness and a collar. Looking smug as fuck as always, because it's a cat. And she won't even look at Carnifex, but she'll look at Hannah and just kind of wave.
She'll give a very brief sup nod. Say, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. Yourself?
Well, just been waiting here. Wonder where Xavier is.
You hear when I beg your pardon. When Dakota arrives, a series of clicks, kind of clicks, and the sound of metal grating upon metal, kind of as the door that Hannah is standing in front of slides open. Whee!
She looks inside. Is it dark? Are the lights on? Is Xavier standing
There
there?
are lights on. There are lights on. It appears to go deeper down into what you assume would be the tube station proper.
She'll text Xavier. You open the door?
A simple yes will return.
Looks like that was him. Let's go. And she'll head down first into the doorway.
I need to know people's walking orders.
Well, I assume I'm first.
Okie dokie.
Dakota's probably last.
Actually, Carnifex won't go down there until she goes first.
Okay, but she's gonna be slow, because... Yeah.
He can't go in front of her. He can't. He cannot.
Afraid he's gonna stab... Or get stabbed in the back.
No, she's a girl.
Oh my god.
So's Hannah.
I would finish that thought, but I have to go stop my budgies from eating something.
Okay. When Carnifex steps to the door last, the door will close behind him. You notice that there are a number of sequin cogs and springs that proceed to lock as the locking matrix on the door re-engages, and you hear the again.
All Carnifex says is, really?
The deeper you descend, as I say, it's maybe about another 25. No, actually, at this point, you will notice you come out onto a landing.
One moment. Is it dark?
No, the lights are on.
Okay, good.
You will come out onto a landing where there appears to have once been the ticket booths, the machines to the ticket booths, and whatever else have you. You can tell that this building, or that this series of underground structures were not by any means modern. They look as if they were probably built in about the 50s or the 50s or the early 60s, and have been out or have been last used in the 50s or early 60s. So there are no escalators, etc. There will be steps that lead downwards, and there is nothing on the small floor that you emerge out into, save for polished white tiles on the floor and the set of double staircases, one leading down and one you assume for the traffic to come up from the tube station below.
Well, I keep trying to find. I keep following the path, and try to find where Xavier's at, or where it would make sense for him to be.
Quick question, because this will make my description of what comes next a whole lot easier. Has everyone seen the movie V for Vendetta?
Yes.
I've seen clips.
You make me sad.
I should watch it.
You really should. Okay. As you walk down into what was at one point the actual main station, you notice that one side of the station where the train would enter has been bricked off. The other one is, however, still open. This area is lit by much brighter lights, and it is very well decorated and upholstered to look like the inside of a kind of neo-Victorian townhouse. There are a number of bookshelves against the wall, and there is a large colonnaded archway off to one side. There are a series of plush chairs with decanters of wine and other various different alcohols that sit unattended, and a number of portraits hanging on the wall.
She'll look around, and those bright lights, by the way, probably dim because of that surround Hannah.
Okay, that is.
So
you hear the kind of noticeable clicking noise of a cane on the hard tile floor that you're standing on. There are a number that there is carpeting in some sections of this room, others which do not possess it and still have the nascent tiles that were there when the room was clearly created. As Xavier makes his way out from under the archway.
Good to see you.
A pleasure. Welcome to my humble. I trust you found it with no great issue.
Wasn't too hard to find our way. At least I like to think so. She looks back to the both of her friends. And then she looks back to Xavier. Go ahead, Kim.
I was just gonna say Dakota probably looks a little annoyed. Probably just because auto walking, you can assume.
My apologies if the stairs were trying on your leg, Miss. You go by Lily, don't you? Miss Lily, or Lily rather. You'll just call you Lily.
It's not a problem.
May I offer refreshments, perhaps?
I'm fine on my end, but I can't speak for our other two friends here. And she'll kind of walk off to the side and kind of leave some open space nearby. Almost kind of look around at the bookshelves that you have to the side. And look at the names on the names of the books on the spines.
These books appear to be rather old and valuable looking, but there's nothing really esoteric or eccentric here. They appear to be like first edition prints of things like Charles Dickens. You see a first edition of Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's kind of a neo-Edwardian collection of Victorian literature, but all the books appear to be old, very well aged.
Got
it. Rather similarly, you will note that some of the paintings in this room are, you would assume, and I emphasize, you would assume that they are copies of noted paintings that currently hang in galleries, if any of you have any interest in art.
You do see the Carnifex. He doesn't look uncomfortable. He kind of reaches into his pants pocket and he pulls out. He's got a lighter and he's got some Captain Black's vanilla flavored, and he lights one. He doesn't even ask if he can smoke because he's Carnifex and he did not do that. Let's just start smoking and he just waits.
Xavier was clearly waiting because he offered everyone refreshments, but only Hannah said no refreshments.
Peter after didn't say anything.
So she'll kind of just look and see that there's silence between the two, and she'll say, "I think we're more interested to see what you have to show us."
Oh, of course. Would you?
He just gently with a cigarette, like what she said.
Would you please step this way into my laboratory?
Very well. A lot of places to step into with you guys, huh?
He'll shrug and he'll say, "Oh yes, well, there are a number of these tube stations that dot London that have been disused. This one particularly was closed in 1949 or 1959, and it serves me rather well as my place of research and development. Anyway, if you would please step this way."
It's cozy.
He'll walk down the corridor, that he emerged from. Leaning on his cane. I assume people will do the following thing.
Yeah, I'll follow him. She'll just kind of look, before she follows him, she'll just look to the other two and give a shrug and kind of give a gesture to follow. She follows behind Xavier. She has her hands in her pockets as always.
If you want a visual of what he's smoking, you can click that link.
Okay, that's a long link.
Shush you.
As you walk down the corridor, you can tell that this corridor was not originally part of the station, in the sense that it's very, very perfectly rectangular. Or rather perfectly square. You would actually guess that this room is that this corridor is, a perfect square. Off to one side, you will see a large door that is a large security door. There's another large security door to the left and one straight forward that Xavier will walk to, press his palm to a palm reader, and that will then flick. The light on it will flick green, and the door will slide open. Inside, you will find. Okay, how to best phrase this? Once again, probably for Adam. Have you ever seen the first Hellboy movie?
Yes.
We're in the BRPD.
Okay. It is a set. You walk in and you see what is essentially a very kind of neo-steampunk style building or style room. There are two huge Tesla coils that are generating electrical discharges set to each side of the room. The room itself is about 50 to 80 feet across and about the same length wide. There are a number of workbenches and workstations. You'll notice that in this room in particular, there are at least 7 or 8 other people, all of whom are wearing white laboratory overall, white lab coats, and have clipboards, etc., as they poke and prod various different machines and projects that sit half completed throughout the room. And Xavier will say, welcome to the main room of my laboratory. I would just ask with all due respect that please don't touch anything. I cannot be held accountable for your fingers.
That's fair. No plans on this end. We are your guests, after all.
Thank you.
Do you think it's a good... She'll look to Carnifex. Do you think... And then she like looks to a cigarette and kind of looks at him with a turned head slightly, like, you think that's... And she just kind of leaves the sentence at that.
Do you want me to put it out?
Carnifex, look at your cigarette.
He looks at his cigarette.
The moment you passed over the threshold, the cigarette went down.
You could have just said, don't smoke.
Xavier doesn't turn around to answer, and he says, you were quite fine to smoke in the reception.
Okay. Let's just move on.
He puts it behind his ear.
Let's just move on. She'll follow Xavier to wherever he's taking us.
Oh, don't worry. I don't get mad.
He takes you to a large, basically you can see a huge screen at one end of the room. It's about 15 feet across and about 10 feet high. And there's a chair set in front of it. that Xavier walks towards and sits in. There is another table behind the large chair, before the large screen rather. But there are a number of chairs set around that are not occupied, and he will kind of gesture for people to take a seat.
Okay. She'll nod and she'll take a seat. She'll probably pull a seat next for Dakota.
When she pulls out that chair for Dakota, you know, the look of like it's obviously annoyed her that she did that, but she's trying to be nice and not snap at Hannah for doing that. So it's kind of like the conflict. But she'll sit down. And then kind of look to Hannah and just politely say, "You don't need to pull my chair out for me. Thank you, though."
Oh, I guess I just wanted to show that I wanted you to sit next to me. She smiled.
I was going to.
Cool.
This is
Sorry
so
about
cute.
That didn't seem to register to Hannah.
He doesn't. Counterfix doesn't sit. He just kind of stands with his back to the wall and watches.
Yeah, and she'll just look up at the screen. So what do you have to share for us?
Yes. As I said, I believed it was best to take this meeting here, as there are a number of items that I'm about to show you that, until they are necessary for the usage and the use of in particular situations, I would rather not remove them from my laboratory. So, he will proceed to press a button on his wrist-mounted computer, and you hear a buzzing noise, a very slight buzzing noise, until such time as from one corner of the room, a large, how to describe it? It appears to almost be a tiny helicopter in miniature. It's not an average drone in the same way you would see a drone with its four cyclical little propellers. This one only possesses the one propeller. As it flies over and sets itself down on the table in front of you, there's a little kind of a hissing noise as there's some gas or steam released from it as it sets itself down, and then it uses four little tripod legs to walk its way down the table, where it kind of comes to a resting position in front of Xavier, and he will say, "Allow me to introduce you, gentlemen and ladies, to Dennis, my latest creation."
She'll kind of look at it and just say, "Nifty."
I said that if we were indeed going to venture into the tubes, rather more deep and unpleasant levels, that we should do so at a higher level of reconnaissance than we currently possess. Thus, Dennis. He is a completely independent Nangula device connected directly to my computer system here. He gestures to the large screen behind him that can record anything he sees and present it to us via live wave video comm transmission. He is also specially protected against various different forms of invasive computer technology. He can shield himself from items such as EMP and other DSUC phrasial manners, and yes, can also view primal energy. This can also view primal energy, temporal mechanical energies, into all spectrums of the spirit world. I'm rather proud of him.
Seems cool device. I assume he has to do with what you want to show us today.
He will nod, and he will say, "My intention is to send him, as I have noted, into the tube system so that we may identify if there are any entities, be they physical, spiritual, or pan-dimensional, currently occupying the space that was located. Currently occupying the space located at the intersection of, and he'll give the intersection in the tube."
And this was the area where there seemed to be some data wiped from that location, eh?
Not just some data, all data, to be exact.
That's right, it was completely purged.
Correct?
So we're gonna have a little scout here.
Indeed.
Seems... Alright. After that, I assume we check things out, see what's going on, and then we go in for ourselves?
You would assume correctly. However, out for posterity, that, how best to phrase, you can see he's contemplating. We have come to the realization that we may be dealing with what we should refer to as an internal Order of Hermes matter. So, in order for us to proceed, I'm afraid that I may require the consent of your superiors.
What the Carnifex?
Good luck getting that.
I'm sure we can. I'll at least try to see if we can have a joint arrangement in this.
Good answer.
But at the moment, I've also been trying to talk to individuals with the order, and I haven't, and do my own research. I haven't had any answers back yet, however. I can still try.
Indeed. Society of Ether currently views that if the Order of Hermes is indeed involved in temporal extra-dimensional scans of London, then, how to phrase it? While we are happy to ascertain the reasoning why these scans are being performed, we would at least like permission from your organization so that we may proceed with any more deep and or invasive analysis thereof. After all, otherwise it should be considered and deemed an internal Order of Hermes issue.
She'll make some texts. I hope best he's coming to chat or come in soon.
Carnifex looks at you and he looks at Hannah and says, "Don't make any promises you can't keep."
Did I make a promise?
It's a warning, not an admonishment.
Very well. But essentially, yes. There's no promises. I want to figure out what's going on here as much as you do, but it does rely on, like you said, approval from superiors. Things can be fickle.
Easier to ask forgiveness than just ask for permission.
As I have said, the chair, our superior, and the superior and senior representative of the traditions currently located within London is making her own investigations. However, so she is unable to give me clarification or certification to proceed with any plans that you may envision or concoct. So, with her out of the ability to provide me with such clearance, I will simply have to have the Order of Hermes sign on the dot.
For what?
My aid. And the aid of the rest of the Order. Or the Society, rather.
Pretty sure that's not how it works, but okay.
In what sense, Carnifex? Speak your mind.
We found something to investigate. We investigated. It's not a problem.
However, your temporal, the temporal distortion has already been identified as belonging to the Order of Hermes. So, if we interfere in what is an internal Order of Hermes matter, That is not our place.
If it was an internal matter, they'd have told us about it. It's not.
Are you sure? You're the ones who always say that your superiors tend to keep things from you.
Yes,
Then
correct.
our superiors should have done a better job of keeping it from us.
You can see the eyes just blink.
Hannah
That
just
makes no sense.
she'll just rub her forehead. Well, I think what.
You know them.
Go ahead. She'll look at Carnifex.
It's the quicksand, kid. It's the quicksand, kid. It's only a problem that way if we make it a problem that way. Otherwise, we're just investigating a problem. There's been no definite connection to any mage currently at the Chantry. Those are the mages. Those would be the Order of Hermes mages that we are concerned with. If they're Order of Hermes mages that are not of our Chantry, then they would have had to ask permission to do what they did in the first place, and they would be interlopers. Ergo, we are simply investigating a matter that concerns the area that we currently reside. That is all.
Excellent. Then, in order to secure our help, you will have no problem having your superiors sign off on it.
They don't have to sign up for it. We don't have to ask permission to investigate things that could be dangerous to the area. If we did, we'd never get anything done.
Xavier will look at Dakota and he'll say, I'm not exactly sure what the proviso is towards your service animal, but may we offer it something to eat or drink?
She says she'd enjoy a bowl of water.
Very good.
Cat talks.
Maybe some red meat if you have it.
Maybe some what, I beg your pardon?
Red meat.
I will see what can be arranged. You see him press a series of buttons on his wrist-mounted computer, and about 4 or 5 minutes later, one of the techs will walk over with a metal bowl that has been split in two by a little metal divide, half of which is filled with water, the other half is filled with what you assume is beef, minced beef.
Funny thing, though, when you mention what it eats or whatever, you see Carnifex visibly shiver, and his eyebrow arches when he looks at it.
Ayala will just kind of casually look over at him, flick her tail, look away again.
Does the cat appear to approve of the water and beef?
Oh, yes. When they're presented, she'll probably hop down and start eating.
Oh, it's placed on the table, so she can sit at the table.
Okay. Okay. Then yeah. What she'll actually do is she'll kind of push the water bowl away from the food dish and she'll eat the food, but then she'll like kind of move her head over to the water dish and take a few drinks every now and then. Kind of like she's eating like a little person.
Little person? Okay.
Very dangerous little person, but yeah.
Little person. Okay, cool. Xavier, from where he's sitting, will nod, and he'll say, I once again would reiterate, if any of my guests would care for anything to refresh themselves, you have but to ask.
Thank you, Xavier. You're a good host. She'll smile.
It is not often that we get company down here, Miss Hannah, so we attempt to do our best.
I'm sure. Master was similar.
He'll nod. You will forgive me, Mr. Carnifex, but you appear to be rather contrary as an individual.
How do you mean?
Well, you pertain that you must have X approval or Y approval or indeed Z approval for actions taken as it pertains your order. However, when actions are taken at your order might wish to keep private or if not sanctified, sanctioned knowledge, you are immediately inclined to simply disregard any chains or pretenses of hierarchy because you perceive it to be for the greater good.
I don't perceive it to be for the greater good. It's not a paperwork problem until it becomes a paperwork problem.
And we are meant to see
That's
if
how
there's
popular.
anything that endangers the sleepers. And usually individual members or cabals are pretty independent unless otherwise needed. So this is a problem that we feel is serious. I believe Carnifex is right. We wouldn't necessarily need permission to investigate this.
Now, if you knew exactly what hermetic signature was involved, then we might. But since we don't, we can do whatever the fuck we want.
Is the obscenity truly necessary?
Yes.
Eyebrow cocks. Eyebrow goes down again. Very well then. In that case, would you be willing to sign a waiver indemnifying that you have been offered the opportunity to consult your superiors and have turned it down?
No. Because it wouldn't stick.
Not with yours.
So, she questions. Oh, wait. Yeah, once. She kind of leans back and he thinks to herself, no, it wouldn't stick. Well, you know what? Since it seems that you are very, very, very apt to want us to ask permission. So you know what? I'll give it a go. I'll see what happens. I'll let them know your case for this investigation.
If you make it a paperwork problem, kid, it then will become a paperwork problem. Then we'll have to answer all manner of questions.
And what big deal? Well, we'll see anyway.
It's a bad idea, kid.
Of course it is.
Because certain masters, because you can't get any of the houses to agree on certain things. Because they're going to table it. They're going to put it in a council. And it's going to be in a quorum for a week and a half. And they're going to send some quaestor dude out here to check this out and that out. This and then present our findings. It's just a fact-finding mission. We're not going to do anything. It's recon. Recon's okay. Now, in the course of the reconnaissance, if someone attacks us, well, we have to defend ourselves. Other than that.
At this point, the one of the attendants will walk up and will remove the empty dishes from the cat.
You're all trying to make this a bigger deal than it is.
As you say, Mr. Carnifex, we are quite happy in that case to take your word on the subject.
Hannah doesn't seem to be saying anything. She seems pretty dejected from the conversation at this point.
Miss Lily, if you would not mind giving us a more full report as to your own actions as it pertains to the London Tube escapade and the interactions you may have had with ectoplasmic pseudo-reality.
The couch cushions?
Yes.
Okay. She puts her phone away because it seems she was doing something on it. Nah, she was sending memes to people. More importantly, she was sending memes to Hannah.
She didn't seem to be paying attention to them too much. She seemed to be focused on the conversation, but she did look down a couple times.
Yeah, it seemed Dakota was just doing it because she got bored, so she was just sending memes. All sorts of, like, stupid memes. Mostly about... Oh, shit. That fell. Anyway, yeah. So, she'll put her phone away and just kind of look up and nod. Well, not entirely too much to say. I got bored and decided to spend my day going down and checking to see what the reason is for the lack of wraiths in the tube. because, wraiths are generally everywhere, and it was said that there were a lot of suicides that have happened in these tunnels, and so there would have been wraiths. Because that sort of thing usually happens. Well, when I got down there, I was told several times that no one who goes down there returns. And I think a couple wraiths made a bet on how quickly I was going to die down there. Well, they believe I'm a wraith, so I should say how quickly I was going to be eaten. Because it seems the wraiths are being eaten. So, anyway, I go down there and I meet this lovely young man who is infected with something or other. I'm going to try to fix that soon. My wife tried and she couldn't, which is odd because usually she fixes ailments like that when it comes to wraiths, but she was unable to do so. Let's see what else. Oh, yeah, it was nice, but it looked like he was being sucked away. His eyes were circled and, encircled with black veins, and they were running all across his body, and he apparently was numb to pain. And he told me not to go down there. And when I ignored him and started heading down there, he said he would follow me, but I sent him on home to my wife. And I spoke to him later, and he was just pretty much surprised to see me alive again. And then he hit me on the back of the head. But that's neither here nor there. So I get down there, and there are couch cushions. They weren't actually couch cushions. They were blobs of utter darkness and shadow that were about 3 feet off the ground, and they moved incredibly slowly. I threw a station sign through them, and when it emerged on the other side of these blobs, there was no writing on it. They had eaten the writing off of the sign, so I then held the sign and stuck it into the shadow, and the shadows ate the sign completely. And they were growling like rabid dogs. While I was standing close, not the shadows, something else I couldn't see. I'm planning on going back down there soon and looking with more sights on. But they uttered 3 verses from Revelations. About the seals that, when opened, start, the apocalypse and everyone dies. When he opened the 5th seal, I saw under the altar the souls of those who had been slain because of the word of God and the testimony they had maintained. The dragon stood on the shore of the sea, and I saw Ow. Sorry, I'm playing with my mask and I just hit myself in the face with it. And I saw a beast coming out of the sea. It had 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 crowns on its horn, and on each head a blasphemous name. I watched as he opened the 6th seal. There was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth made of goat hair. The whole moon turned blood red. So, that was a lovely little thing. And when I kind of poked fun at him, saying that he'd be, great if he was one of those street preachers talking about the apocalypse, which, funny enough, at that time I didn't realize that those verses were actually about the apocalypse, but I felt very happy when I learned that later. But either way, it chuckled. And then at that point, the little couch cushions began to look, I can't really say hungrily at me, because they were blobs of shadows, but they started coming towards me like they were going to eat me. The thing I noticed with these shadows, though, is that they were blind. They could not see. Not with any eyes or any kind of, ethereal eyes that they had. So, I thought, because they also moved very slow, I thought about sidestepping them and continuing down on into the tube, but I had this overwhelming feeling that if I did, I was going to die. So, I decided to forgo that, and I went back up. My wife was supposed to get back to me yesterday because she went to go look for an oracle or a monitor. Unfortunately, she, well, is not back just yet, which is kind of worrying. She probably will be back sometime today. But I'm going to talk with either an oracle or a monitor and see if they can give me any more insight as to those verses and what might be going on down in the tubes.
Xavier will nod, and he will kind of steeple his fingers together, and he will say, I have been given the task by my superiors in doing some rather unpleasant acts for the betterment of the enlightened community. I would ask the quorum, and he says very, very calmly, what you know of the phrase nefandi or nefandus.
I've heard things about them. Not too many details, though. Probably the same as everybody else.
They're on my kill list.
Yeah.
Well, the verse that is spoken in Revelations is continued in the next iteration, which reads, and he shall rise up from the ocean, creating armies on every shore, turning brother against his brother, till man itself stands no more.
That sounds like a Nephandic thing to do.
Yes. He contemplates his next words. There was a very major Nephandic presence in London. I'm not sure if if any of you were privy to this knowledge.
No, as far as we heard, it seemed to be a very peaceful town.
It was, or it is. The Nephandi were eradicated he contemplates the timeline, 13 years ago. 12 to 13 years ago.
And in the scale of time, that's not too long.
No. However, I am very interested in why Bible verses quoting lines that are symbolic to this organization have now begun to reappear.
Could just be a doomsday cult.
Possibly.
It could be all sorts of things.
However, as I said, I have been tasked by the Society of Ether in the destruction of those individuals who would seek to deal with extracorporeal entities as it pertains to their transubstantial essence, or what you might refer to as their soul. That is my purpose. So, I consider it rather more serious than a possible doomsday cult. Any haste or testimony of taint needs to be eradicated.
If I killed everything that pissed me off, there would be a lot of people walking around.
Yes. However, Mr. Carnifex, your opinions on entities is not as it pertains to them attempting to bring about extraplanar beings to this world who seek nothing but the death, destruction, and recombination of the natural essence of humanity.
We have a library. You mind if I do any research on these entities you mentioned, Dakota? Hannah, will you ask Dakota if she minds if I do any research on these broods that she's described?
Out of character, Kim, are you there? I think she went AFK.
Oh, okay, cool.
Something happened. Maybe something happened with her budgies.
Budgers.
So we could just say that she's excused herself for a moment.
Budgers.
So, and I will just say, so how did we jump to Nafandi so quickly?
We didn't. It was the presence of this individual quoting, this presence of this extraplanar being and/or entity invested with magical capabilities quoting passages from the Bible that are synonymous with them that may have sparked my interest. Also, the fact that, as I've said, London had, hitherto a point, a rather dark history when it came to the Nafandi and their traditional machinations, and it is something I would very much rather not see again.
I've been told Nafandi are more subtle than that.
What do you define as subtlety, Miss Hannah?
That you'll never even know that they were the ones who led you off the cliff. They'll be the nicest people you ever meet, the most attractive. They'll seem as though they were the most charming people in the world. You'll never even second guess or even see in their aura anything wrong or estranged with them. Yet somehow they'll do all these tiny little things to make sure that instead of flying off the cliff, you fall. That's what I've been told. I don't think, and then it could be Nefandi or some kind of entity associated with them. But you're more likely to encounter them with a smile and open arms rather than with an ominous voice speaking of apocalyptic Bible verses.
Miss
I was
Hannah,
gonna keep it simple.
may
Uh-oh.
I ask another question?
Yes.
Have you ever heard of a noted etherite by the name of Elizabeth Rathbone?
No, I haven't.
Miss Elizabeth Rathbone was once one of the most senior chairs in London. She specialized in extra-dimensional science as it pertained to quantum causality. I'm sure you understand. She was brilliant, and yes. When it was that she was approached by the same individuals whom you mentioned, those smiling, dour, those smiling, regal, and in all other ways decent individuals, as to create a portal to a specific place within what would in modern colloquially become known as the Dark Umbra. Are you aware of the Dark Umbra, Miss Hannah?
Usually the Dark Umbra refers to the underworld unless you mean the deep.
I do.
Okay. Well, I'm aware of the Deep Umbra, and I've seen pieces of it long ago.
Very good. She was asked to create a portal. She refused. She refused multiple times, in fact. She and her family were then kidnapped, their home burned, and her living essence, her very being, her awakened spark, was used to rip open the hole that they desired, with the blood of her children, the blood of her husband, used as the catalyst agent to do so. There was only one survivor, the boy who managed to close the rift, though, unfortunately, in doing so, he suffered terrible injuries. They said that they were woven into his pattern so that they could not be regenerated. So, Miss Hannah, as it pertains to the Nafandi, they may start with smiles and with calm and whispered words. However, when they want something, I assure you they will take it.
I suppose from my teachings, I'm not saying that's not the case, the story you've told. I've just been told that that is usually a very last resort when they resort to force like that. Usually they'll get others, pawns, to do that sort of thing for them.
Oh, yes. And who is to say that this man stood in the subway tunnel was himself not a pawn? After
Very.
all, Mr. Carnifex asked me a question the other day, and I've been giving it much thought, you understand. Mr. Carnifex, I believe your question was, what could the energy that was generated in that subway tunnel in theory be used for? Yes?
He nods.
From my thinking and my analysis, the most likely usage of that energy for the duration and the period in which the energy was generated was some kind of summoning portal. Some kind of aperture either to another point in this world or another point elsewhere.
Did you find evidence as such?
He will contemplate and he will say, without my ability to examine the space in question for its own residual signature, I cannot be, of course, certain. However, that is for the energy that was generated and the duration of the energy generated what I would believe the most likely. But I cannot be sure until such time as I'm able to examine it.
I'm guessing that's what we'll be doing soon, to go down there.
Yes.
So hopefully we can find that evidence. Now the question is, we should think ahead of time as to when we gain the evidence, how we can get it to safety.
Yeah.
With our lives intact. Just in case.
Kim, have you returned? Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm back. I was getting ready for work.
Ah, okay. A little while ago, Marcus asked you a question. I don't know if you heard it.
Maybe. Sorry, work comes first.
That's right.
That's fine. At this point, Xavier will stand from his chair and he'll say, I intend that if we are indeed to be assaulted or accosted, that I will use all of my artifice to defend myself. I do not know how it is that you intend to protect yourselves, but I have offered you, as I've said, protections, but you have, in general, refused me. So it is entirely to yourselves, I suppose.
If there are extra protections, I'm still initiated many things. Some extra protection would be very helpful, especially since I don't have any knowledge in the sphere of matter.
Very well then. I was also intending to provide what we would refer to as etheratic shielding to those who required it. It protects against attacks from spiritual beings on both sides of the Umbra and the Shadowland.
That would be extremely helpful, at least for myself, if we were to go down there. I have a few defenses I can put up for myself, but nothing to actually protect my physical body. At least not yet.
Wonderful. I will see what I am capable of providing.
Thank you, Xavier. I appreciate that.
So Hannah looks like she was in just like a really deep not Hannah. Dakota looked like she was just in like a really deep kind of not so much meditation, but like it looked like she was in a conversation with someone and she was just kind of looking at Ayala as she was speaking. Or as, this was happening. But when she kind of zones back into that conversation, she just kind of blinks and looks around at the party.
The party.
The party.
The party.
Does the cat know?
No, what? Sorry.
What those things were you ran into?
Oh no, Ayala was not with me.
Did you ask her what something like that could be?
I could, but something tells me that she won't really know. She's more suited to fighting, shall we say.
Okay.
Kim, I'm just going to say this right now. serval power armor.
What the fuck?
Gonna make some serval power armor, Kim.
I mean, look, that's
That's amazing, and you know it.
That's your resources.
I'm entirely okay with making serval power armor.
It's not mine.
Gonna do it. Gonna make serval power armor.
Carnifex does look like he kind of looks like he's thinking about. It doesn't look like he's thinking about the problem. It looks like he's kind of zoning off. Not zoning off in the space, but just kind of inspecting the room and paying attention to the conversation. But he says, and take him with a grain of salt if you want to. First thing, I don't want to jump to any conclusions. I just want to analyze what is, and then take that information later. I don't want any preconceived notions in my own head. So I'm going to erase most of this conversation from my head. I am going to go down there, on the other hand, and look with eyes for what is actually there, and then try and piece together what could be, what it could be. My goal isn't to go down there and to engage in combat. My goal is to go down, recon, and then evac. That's it.
It sounds like
the fight
a plan.
starts. I'm gonna run. I'm not gonna stand and fight because there's no reason for it. If we're gonna set up the relay that we discussed earlier, then everyone will be able to see what we see in real time. If not, I'll be recording my own way, taking it in every detail and be able to literally write down the entire event from every perspective that I can see it. You go down and take a look-see. That's it. That's what we have to do. We don't need to engage in combat.
I have already set up a hard line, so it will be that everything can be recorded.
Excellent. Everyone, I don't want us to go down there prepared for war. I want us to be down there prepared for speed. Speed and perception. That's it.
Fair enough.
Very well.
We take the information, we disseminate it amongst the traditions or other mages that we want to have the information, make a decision and a plan based on that. But we don't do anything to engage. It's just investigation and evacuation. Those are our primary goals. Is that a problem for anybody?
That's honestly what I thought we would be doing. So
yes,
I'm game for that.
That is what I have prepared for. So it is agreeable.
He looks over at Dakota and notices he goes, "You gonna go down there in the meat, or are you gonna go down there spiritually?"
I'm going to go through the Shadowlands. If a train is to come and, well, the rest of you can run. Unfortunately, I can't.
Which is why I asked what I asked.
And as I'm saying, I'm going in through the Shadowlands.
Okay, so we all have our plans. We all have our way to...
Question: have any of you ever been transmitted through have any of you ever been digitized and translated before?
Won't work.
I think Sheila Squincer has. I think I might have been. I don't quite remember.
What do you mean it won't work?
I mean it won't work.
Define.
I did. It will not work.
Why won't it work? I think he's trying to ask.
You know why it won't work.
No, I don't.
Remember the final ceremony.
Please be more specific. You know what? Never mind. Forget about it. It won't work.
Your ceremony means you cannot be teleported. Pops an eyebrow.
I don't know what the heck he's talking about.
Something like that.
I was going to offer you each a device that would enable you to retreat to safety, but if that is the case, I will. Miss Dakota,
It
would
won't
you?
work unless she gives you something so that that'll work. Remember, Hannah?
I
Dakota's just gonna chuckle and then mutter something in Japanese.
What is it?
Uh,
Mendokusai.
no, she says, and the carnival worker being as obstinate, enigmatic as always.
I'm so tempted to have that appear on the big screen on Google Translate or some shit, but no, that would just be no, don't do it, Evan, no. Anyway,
Don't you fucking dare!
Out of character, are you talking about a game mechanic, Marcus? I'm not sure, if Hannah would know this or not. I'm confused.
Out of character, yes, you would. Remember, you have to give her some. You have to give him something that gives him a connection to you because you don't have one. You have no connection to anything.
I have her cell phone number. That is more than enough. I
Not
use data
for-
in the correspondence there.
Not for a. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing. Check it out.
But I thought under data, all you needed to secure somebody was either a phone number or an IP address.
Unless they changed the rules of sympathetic magic in the last edition, sure. I mean, they might have. But as far as I know, that unless she counts as no connection on the correspondence chart. So you got to give her
What's your
something to connect
data?
with.
What's your data level?
3.
Casual possession or associate, legacy code, internet sock puppet, throwaway email or media account.
Haha!
So yeah, he can do it.
Okay.
I feel like that was a kind of a victory moment. So Xavier's going to do an internal tap dance. Anyway, he was.
She just and he says, unless there's anything more, I think I'll be heading out. I need to.
No. Oh, he was just saying no. I don't believe that there's anything else.
Very well. I need to do some thinking. And she'll get up. She'll nod towards Dakota. I guess I'll see you guys later. And then she'll leave through the laboratory and head on out.
In that case, I believe that we should call this meeting to a close. We will more than likely be heading out in the next few days, so do see to your own protections and preparation.
I give it a shot.
Yes.
Dakota will thank Xavier on Ayala's behalf for the food and drink, but then she will head out because I have to go to work.
No worries. Xavier will be
does-
fine. He will say that
he
she
does-
and you are welcome anytime.
He does tell Xavier, and he goes, "Thank you for observing all the rules of hospitality."
He will say, "This is London. We tend to be old school in regards to that." And on that note, I will push the button. Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. Cha-cha-cha.